Being a good business owner means that you have a clear understanding of how your business is supposed to be going, not today, not tomorrow, but 5 years from now, and understanding that projection.
Welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and in self. Today, we have a master Amazon marketer that is taking brands on Amazon from 7 to 8 figures. Elizabeth Green from Jungler is here to discuss how her done-for-you Amazon ad program can skyrocket your business and your revenue. Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. I love the concept. For the work from home life, like business feeds into personal and personal to business. So it's awesome.
Honestly, when we love what we do, it kind of all meshes and comes together. And I think by the giant sign you have in the background here, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you got to check it out. I got to figure out where to get one of those for my own office. But you're living this business and you're really enjoying it. So tell me how you started. Tell me how this whole thing came to be, why you're focused specifically on Amazon, and kind of the overall structure of the business you have today.
Yeah, no, I love it. I like to say like I fell into it, then I fell in love with it. It's kind of like my origin story. So with a lot of people like working from home, definitely afford a whole host of like opportunity these days. But with that opportunity comes a ton of different options, which can feel a little bit daunting when you're trying to get into it. So when we were starting to get into it, like how it would be great to like work from anywhere, have a family together, just allow sort of that intermingling of personal and business. And that led to the world of selling on Amazon, which this was 6 or 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I believe. And so tried a bunch of different things. That one stuck a little bit harder. And through that was right when Amazon was really putting a lot into their advertising platform. And it feels like it's hit almost breakneck speed at this point. But that was really getting into it. And so started off back then, there was a lot of like Facebook groups that were really popping, and a lot of those, sellers. The one thing I really love about the community around Amazon is everyone is very, very generous with their ideas. Up until like they won't sell you their products because those are really hard to like. That's the crux of it, being able to find and source really good products. But up until that, even if someone finds like a hack, like, oh, I realized that you can do this or this is really beneficial. There's this really generous spirit, which is amazing. And so when I was up and coming, figuring out the world of advertising, people had a lot of questions. And so I was like, well, I have the answer to your question. Let me get back to that. And that led to someone to be like, hey, do you do this? And I was like, well, kind of. And they're like, hey, can you do it for me? And I was like, sure, why not? And so that really kind of started dabbling in that really freelancing. We might have called ourselves an agency, but it's you didn't want to be at that point. And then just really grown from there. And so my constant marketing strategy has been like, hey, give without intention of receiving. And it always seems to come back in dividends, which is hopefully I can give value on this podcast as well.
I love that. I mean, the structure that you have of falling into it and then falling in love with it. And then obviously educating yourself to a point where people are like, you know what you're talking about. I need some help. Right. So I love that. But as business owners, normally we see a problem, and that's where the business really starts. Right. You saw an opportunity with Amazon and then you dove into it. Can you highlight some of the biggest problems that you're seeing in that Amazon market or in the paid ad space within Amazon itself that you guys are really solving with Jungler?
Yeah, I could speak to what's happening right now because there's definitely been a tremendous arc and evolution when it comes to advertising. Back when we got started, the conversation was, do I need to run Amazon advertising? And if I do, how do I achieve it? These days, it's how do I do it? So it's definitely become like a very integral and connected piece in the world of selling, specifically on Amazon. And the thing that's really, I think the biggest struggle these days is maintaining sort of that profitability with scale. Is the issue that we find a lot of brands are up against. And specifically with the type of brands we like to work with, we're a little bit more founder-led, a little bit more scrappy, which means those businesses, they have to maintain and grow off of their own cash flow and their bottom line, right? It's not like an Entercom brand or like enterprise where they're like, hey, throw a $25K budget at it, see what happens, we'll iterate from there, right? Like we have those brands, but the ones that really like to work with is like, hey, I really want to grow. But I realize that I have this constraint in I can't operate on a negative because I have, 6 other channels and retail and everything else that's going to fund this operation. They're really like, I need to grow off my own merit. And with the sort of evolution of advertising, it's like any advertising platform. I feel like in the world of Amazon, sometimes we get a little bit isolated and think that like that's not the reality everywhere else. But the reality of like pay per click is costs just continue to rise, sometimes at a really frustrating rate, if we're being honest. And so it's really finding out like, how do I navigate that in the current market where my profitability is not only being squeezed with rising ad costs, but in things like rising logistics costs. It seems like everything's just getting more and more expensive. And the bottom line is the thing that's like bearing the brunt of that. So it's like, how am I able to grow and essentially not put myself out of business?
So Jungler's taking an approach of not just, hey, we do Amazon ads, but we're a supportive structure for your business and an understanding your COGS, understanding the growing market, understanding the position you need to be on to be successful and scalable with growth within the Amazon market. Super powerful. Entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this right now, if you've thought about entering Amazon, it is a very difficult market. Not only are your margins thinner because there's a cost that's going to come from Amazon, but there's also the factor of the competition that you are right aligned with, and there's a constant price gouging happening across the board in that market. So to have someone like Elizabeth as a professional that's in your corner that not just knows how to run the ads, but cares about the profit, not just the revenue coming from your efforts, is a huge bonus, an absolute huge bonus. I have a question when it comes to your clientele. You mentioned that, Amazon buyers, but are you working with, or Amazon e-commerce stores or Amazon shoppers? Are you working with all of them? Are you working with everything from toys to beauty products? Is there a specific niche that you guys fall within, or maybe a specific average order value that you guys like to work with? Is there someone that if they walked into your business today, you would know this is an absolute perfect fit for Jungler?
So what we find is it's a lot more about the founder than it is maybe like the particular space. The one I think really unique thing that we bring to the table is we really have run the gamut in terms of the types of products that we work with. So we work with everything from like supplements or very cutthroat. Cost per clicks in that space, insane. We've been able to come up with some very unique strategies to navigate that. We work with like high price scientific equipment. Go figure, that one has its own optimization. So what we find is that because we run sort of the gamut, the other thing that we've really cut our teeth on, that when I tell other people who are my friends in the space that we manage advertising for these types of brands, they like, oh my gosh, how do you guys do that? So we manage like very large clothing brands. I'm talking like 20,000, 50,000 SKUs. Like, how do you manage advertising? Be able to find that 80/20, be able to hit that scale, not completely lose it because you have the budget, blend it across everything. Like, how do you get in something that complex and basically like wrestle it into the biggest action items that are going to be able to guard the account? So really, we have a wide berth in terms of, the types of products and brands we're willing, we can work with. But what we found is that those good partnerships, the one that, we're managing, I mean, heck, we have brands we've been managing since the get, we're going on like 5 years with them at this point. Is really that sort of founder led. They're looking for scale. They understand that it's more of a long-term play sometimes. So they really have that forward thinking, that willingness to solve it. I think the brands that we find maybe aren't as good of a fit are typically the ones. Someone asked me a question recently about like, hey, how do you work? Like, do you like when you're outsourcing, like, should you outsource? Did you not? It was like a personal, like, how do I run my own business thing? But I'm like, hey, look, you can outsource work, but you never outsource responsibility. As a business owner, you really have to own that. And so we find that the biggest partnerships and the ones where we've achieved like record success have been the ones where the brand owner is like, hey, I realize that I have the responsibility and I'm the one like steering the ship. So I'm not offloading that to you, but I need a partner because I don't have the team, or I don't have the expertise, or I don't have the time. And sometimes they have expertise, but they realize like, oh wait, if I'm same thing, I think us as business owners, right? You're like, I kind of know how to do this, but I realize like if I just keep doing this piece, I can't free up myself to do the other things that are really going to move the needle. And so it's time to hand it off. But it's really like they want to take ownership of their business. They know where they're going. They know how they're going to get there. And they're like, I don't know what it looks like to run a good, effective advertising strategy to achieve this.
Elizabeth, I'm gonna punch all the listeners in the gut real quick. For you entrepreneurs and business owners listening, what she explained was a good business owner. Just so you understand, right? The good business owner is looking, they're forecasting and looking long term. They have a clear understanding of opening into the market, and you are the owner, just like you, just like me. When something happens in our companies, no matter what, the responsibility comes back to us. Growth, failure, whatever it might be. Being a good business owner means that you have a clear understanding of how your business is supposed to be going, not today, not tomorrow, but 5 years from now, and understanding that projection. So I love that. So it doesn't matter the category of the products that they're selling, as long as they're looking to grow and they're looking to scale and they're looking to understand the long-term success of Amazon ads, Jungler would be an impeccable business partner for them to make sure that they're being successful on Amazon. Awesome. Awesome. But to have this confidence, Elizabeth, and to have this understanding of not just Amazon, because I can hear the way you're talking, it's not just an understanding of Amazon, it's not just an understanding of business, but it's a true understanding of marketing to sales to business to the platform of how to leverage Amazon. To know these things, you got to go through some trials and tribulations to build your confidence in a structure this way. So, do you have like a single challenge or failure that you've ran into over the time of running your company that you can enlighten us and explain why it was a challenge, why it was a failure, and how it changed you or changed the company for the better?
That is a fantastic question. I feel like you're right. If you have any confidence, or like I do a weekly like live Q&A for an entire hour. I'm like, show up, ask your Amazon ad question, throw it at me, let's go. And I always say on that, I'm like, look, all of these things I'm telling you that I've learned is because I have battle scars. And whenever I have a very strong opinion on something, it's because I have a story of some pain and hardship that I went through that hopefully you won't have to follow. And I think the biggest thing, if I'm looking back, I mean, there's a ton of little things in terms of, what should you focus in on strategy, or maybe this specific strategy doesn't really work as well as other ones. But I think honestly, if I'm looking at, where have partnerships gone wrong, or where have things gone wrong, or some things that I think just new business owners struggle to, or even I myself, as I've been, working with other vendors or things to help us grow our business, is the best thing, or the hardest accounts to get the results for are the ones where you don't have the full context of the why. And like, for example, I was doing a consultation with someone, and they were talking about their business, and I'm like, okay, so what do you like to do? What are your goals, your growth goals? And I find asking the why question to be super informative, because, like you said, we're looking holistically at the business, and the trickiest accounts to get results for are the ones where you have like a very narrow focus. So they're like, I need to achieve this, I need to achieve this, I need to achieve this. And this really oftentimes that like kind of pigeonholes you into, okay, if you want to achieve that, like there's only two things I can do. I can't really get creative. I can't use my full expertise to like really figure out like a roundabout way of doing it. And so I was talking with this business owner, and he's like, well, I really want to like quadruple sales in Q4. I'm like, okay, well, that's a lofty goal, like, done, but all right, so why? And as we're having this question, I'm like, okay, well, so what do you need? Like, what do you need that? What happens if you don't? Whatever. And it's like, oh, I feel like quadrupling sales, because actually turns out I haven't turned a profit in 2 years. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he's like, sales growth is going to save me from poor profits. I'm like, okay, so actually to build a 4x growth strategy is probably going to make you go a little bit backwards in terms of profitability. So can we like back it up and say, all right, so if the actual goal is profit, to be able to turn a profit, there's way more ways I can do that. There's there's really more out of the box strategies we can bring to actually achieve the thing that you want, versus being like really stuck on this is what I need. So I found that every time I don't ask the why question and I just take it at face value, again, not that I don't want you to quadruple sales, right? Like if I can do that, fantastic. But if those things are going to end up hurting the business, or like, hey, I need to rank on this one specific keyword. Okay, we can absolutely do that. That may not be what you need, because your goal is, your goal is actually sales growth. There's 50 different things I could do for sales growth, versus I have to achieve this one specific thing. So I found anytime I've not asked those why questions, we end up doing a bigger disservice Because again, it's not that we're not trying to execute properly. And I think a lot of service providers get stuck in this, like they asked for this, I gave them that, but the results, like it turned out you got the technical results they requested, but it wasn't actually the bigger picture thing that they wanted. So I find if we can shortcut it and say like, what is the bigger picture thing you actually want? Then then it opens up those options. And that's where you get one, ad managers have fun. That's like our favorite thing.
Yeah.
You get to have more fun if we get to bring our full knowledge to bear on the actual issue at hand. And then, of course, in the end, everybody's much more happy with their results.
You have every marketer in the world listening to this right now nodding their head, going 110%, because as a business owner, again, what she's getting at is that sometimes we develop goals as business owners, as clients, we develop goals, and you haven't even asked yourself why yet. You haven't even dove into why. And her example here is perfect. If that person wants to 4x their sales, is a vastly different than if they want profit. Most businesses looking for 4x aren't actually looking for profit. They're looking for a break even or a loss during that time and recovering the income afterwards by accumulating the customers. But profit, you're not even going into a sales conversation. The first part of that is a reduction of cost, right? If you want to be profitable, it's not because of sales, it's because of how much it costs you to do the sales. So, I mean, Elizabeth, nail on the head, obviously extremely intelligent with everything that you're doing and the structure that you have and the way that you're looking at these clients. So I'm really interested in this next question because I think that you'll have a good grasp on it. Where is this going? In the next 5 to 10 years, where is Amazon ads or the Amazon space in general in the sense of commerce going? And where do you see it progressing? And how is Jungler staying on top of it?
That is a really interesting question. To be honest, I'm excited for the future, although a little bit nervous because with growth comes change. So I really see Amazon has got into the game and said, like, look, we want to be a big media player. We see what Facebook's doing, we see what Google's doing, we want our piece of the pie. So they're opening up a lot of like non-endemic things. And what I see is they're really democratizing access to advertising platforms and certain like media that was really unheard of to get access before. And with the new things, Amazon constantly touts it as, oh, brand awareness. For the types of clients I work with, brand awareness equals wasted ad spend. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that that's the place that they're at. So there is a lot of apprehension on like, is this really something I need to get into? And I think a lot of stuff is very beginning stages, and a lot of it we just need to vet. Like with a lot of new ad media, sometimes it's hard to say like, okay, where like true conversions is a little bit hard to track. So there's a lot of that kind of going around. Like, is this actually leading to growth? We don't know. But I think once a lot of those things are figured out, so for example, Amazon has a huge presence on their streaming platform. They've actually opened up the ability to run TV ads through their streaming platform for, I think you can get into them with like, I want to say it's like a $50 a day budget. Like, you think of that. How, like, before, like TV ads. Can you imagine running TV ads for that low of an entry?
It was impossible. Yeah.
And so they're really looking to like just grant access. And so again, people who are willing to get in, be scrappy, use the resources at hand. They also have released like their AI. It's a little finicky. I'll be honest, it's a hit or miss. But they have a consumer facing AI that allows consumers to sort of QA the entire like catalog and say like, okay, can you help me find this? They're opening up advertising slots within that. Now, the way they rolled it out is like, hey, we're opening up these advertising slots, but you can't track it and there's no data on it, but it's there. So like these things, it's very, very beginning stages, but they're really at the forefront of, again, like democratizing and on the cutting edge of a lot of new technologies. So I just continue, to see them really just push into that. And then the other thing that is along with that is the platform is just going to get continuously more competitive. That's just the nature of any sort of advertising channel. And so just continuously trying to find ways to, again, serve our brands in a way that allows them to grow sustainably. So it'll be an interesting world. We're going to keep an ear to the ground and keep on moving.
I love that. I mean, and honestly, I can see a world where I'm watching my Amazon TV show or on an Amazon movie, a commercial pops up, and all I have to do is hold my phone up and it instantly is a self-generated backend QR code that brings me right to an Amazon page to make a purchase, right? With the opportunity for TV, I think there's going to be more. The one thing that doesn't get brought up a lot, and I'm curious because I think 5 or 10 years, we'll see it at the tip of 10 years, the VR AR capability, which I think Amazon is very on top of, very on top of. So yeah, a lot of big things. And someone like you staying on top of that market is what you would need in your back pocket as any business owner that's looking to enter into the space. Again, it's complicated. It's evolving. There's new systems, there's new tools, there's new offerings that need to be on top of. So my favorite question that I have is, how do you find your Kaizen? Kaizen, for the listeners out there, is a Japanese business term that means a 1% progression in both self and business every single day. Obviously, Elizabeth's on top of it. She knows the Amazon market. She understands the actual business structure. She understands marketing in itself. How are you learning, Elizabeth? How are you developing yourself? How do you stay on top of the market? What are you doing to ensure that when someone comes to you, they're coming to a person that is not only educated, but understands what's coming up next to ensure that business is on the cutting edge of success?
Yeah, I'll tell you how I'm navigating it personally. I mean, one is I think just through a really solid team. So we try and cultivate a really good big culture of learning. I think there's multiple ways to build an agency. There's sort of that top down structure where everything's super SOP'd and it's like just follow the playbook, and then it's upon one person or maybe even a smaller team of people to, constantly reinvigorate that playbook. We have to have a strong leadership structure in place, but we almost do sort of like a bottom up approach where we have the boots on the ground. They're coming up with, I mean, I talked about an interesting solution for clothing, and we have another playbook of what to do when we have supplements. We have another playbook if you have a low conversion rate, high price product. Like, there's all these things. Those are actually developed through like individual contributors saying like, hey, I found out this really awesome way that's super effective. And then we'd be like, oh my gosh, what did you do? Those results are insane. Let's share that with the team. So that's sort of the structure that we're working to cultivate, which means that we can get like real time feedback from the team on the things that are working right now. But in terms of like you said, that long term, looking through stuff, as I get older, I'm constantly working almost to, I find if you can work to sort of understand yourself and your own strengths, then you end up coming up with much more interesting solutions, I think, that are genuine to yourself. And then also, it's a lot easier to stick with. Because I find when I'm trying to run someone else's playbook or do somebody else's thing, not that I can't see something that's super awesome somebody else is doing, I was like, oh my gosh, I should totally do that. But it's like trying to find my way of doing it. And so, I mean, good in my line of work, I love spreadsheets, which means I have to love data. And so the thing that I've found that just personally excites me, like I can build a forecasting tool on the weekend and be happy as a player. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And somebody's like, what is, I'm like, it's a new winner. Like, drives him crazy. But so I come about it from that perspective. And so the one thing that I found to be super informative is just really understanding the data. Not just knowing, hey, this number went up, this number went down, but like why? And being able to interpret that. And then, so what I'm constantly working on is one, as I moved a little bit more away from the day to day, and I'm still over like informing the team and making sure, we have the tools necessary, is to constantly push the team to figure out the why of the data. And then constantly listening to customers, to people on the market who are, again, the brands that I'm trying to serve, and say like, what problems are you trying to solve? And then using my expertise in terms of, building out maybe data production of things. Case in point, I just did a webinar. One question I constantly get from our clients is like, okay, I understand that launch is not going to be profitable, right? We all know this. We launch a business. We're very rare to be profitable from day one, but like, how long do I have to hold my breath? What is that path? How do I project that out? And so like over the weekend, I was like, oh, I think I can figure that out. So I went through and like build a different way to look at a P&L projection model to see like, hey, what actual thing, like what are the nitty gritty things? Not the, oh, this is a broad what the spend needs to be. Anyone can tell you that. It's like, no, what does the precise cost per click need to be? What does this precise number need to be able to hit? Where's at least that break even and then beyond? So trying to just leverage a thing that excites me personally to help, again, serve the market, which, like I said, what I found is that if you're constantly just looking to serve, it always comes back to you in one way.
Oh, it's finding your Kaizen through having good people around you, right? Having your I love the bottom up approach. That ideology, we have that very strong in our company as well, where the direct media buyers, the people doing the effort should have a large voice in what's going on. I mean, they're moving the blocks, right? Are the blocks fitting correctly? So having that bottom up approach of the communication, as well as being a student of life and excuse my language, but an absolute nerd when it comes to Amazon and data, right? I'm a nerd too. I'm cool with it, right? So that's somebody, again, entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this right now, that's who you want in your corner. You want someone that is animated about sitting down and looking at your spreadsheet to understand how to be successful, that is projecting ideologies of what they can do to fix problems, and also is looking at the core issues that you are seeing from a startup to a major brand and assessing it in a way that you understand. To do those projections, you need to have an estimate of lifetime value, customer retention rate. You need to look into the actual data, the conversion rate of the website. There is a lot of granular data points that go into a forecast like that. And Elizabeth, to be here in your corner to support your company in your efforts on Amazon, I don't think you could find anybody better. So incredible. I love what you're saying. I love the structure behind it. Love the approach that you're going about it. I got one last bonus question for you.
Awesome. Go for
Have you
it.
ever heard of the book Atlas Shrugs?
I have. Although
Okay.
I'm trying to remember, it's probably one of the books on my bookshelf that has yet to be read.
It's a thick one, so it's a super long one. For the listeners out there, Atlas Shrugs is the book that explains that the world itself is moved by business owners. There's nothing new that happens in this world if you don't start a business about it, and there's nothing that moves forward in this world without the operation and the structure of a business. So every single day, you, Elizabeth, me, and all the business owners out there, we put the world on our shoulders and we walk forward every single day to progress the world. But what would happen if we all just shrugged the world off our shoulders? If all of us just decided to fold our businesses today and say, I'm going to cash out, I'm going to take my money, I'm done with this. I'm not operating a system that is going to help you grow your Amazon business. If that happened today and every business owner in the world just stopped running their business, what would be the first business that you would start tomorrow?
Mm,
Infrastructure is all there. You know, if you wanted a restaurant, the restaurant facilities are still there, buildings are all there, but there's no business operations going.
Really fantastic question, but I probably should be more prepared.
This one was a bonus. So for the listeners out there, she didn't know this was.
Put me on the spot. Put me on the spot. No, I love. You know what I think I would, going back to what makes you happy and what the thing that drives you and really just, like rolling with that. One, I would have to be doing something with data. Like agency life is great and also totally sucks because it's super people intensive. So it is a communication heavy industry, but honestly, I freaking love it. I was going through, again, trying to like internalize and, figure out what makes me happy. I think my favorite thing above all else, spreadsheets and everything else, is being able to work through someone's problem and give them a light bulb moment. Like, that's my happy place, and that's the thing I love. And the other thing that I really love is family. So I think I would. What would that even look like, though? I would have to be doing something with family, which might involve real estate or other ventures, because that's what two sides of a coin. I do this primarily. My husband takes it and puts it into real estate investments. So I would love to work with him a little bit closer, which might be facilitating that at some point. I guess people intensive would probably be that would probably end up being more of the management company side of it, which I can see that being great and then also sucking on some level. But I think probably rolling into that.
Elizabeth, obviously know what you love. And again, the first thing she went back to was data and people. Data and people. I'm surprised you didn't say, I mean, Amazon would be gone, but I'm surprised you didn't say I'd start the next
I was
thing.
thinking in a world where Amazon was gone. If Amazon wasn't gone, I mean, that's definitely like that is my area of expertise and the thing that I love. So if that was an option, I think I would still be doing what I'm doing, to be honest.
That's for everybody listening to there. That I mean, listen, I've asked this question to multiple people, multiple different people. I've gotten every answer from I need my coffee, so I'm just starting a coffee shop. I need to work out every day, so I'm starting my gym, right? To the point of, well, if money's not a thing and we don't really have to worry about it, I'm gonna start a humanitarian effort and I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z to help the world, right? So, but the one thing that shines it for you is just how animated you are about what you do. You know, the first you said, I needed data, I need my spreadsheets, I need people, right? So having those points in mind, and for the listeners out there, having an understanding of that, if that's the type of person you want in your corner, you need to contact Elizabeth. You need to start working with this team. Elizabeth, how would people get in contact with you? If they're interested, they listen to this podcast, they're like, okay, I need some more information about my Amazon store. I need to start an Amazon store and I need help from your team at Jungler. How do they get in contact with you?
Yeah. So the best place if you want to get on a call with me personally would definitely going to be our website, which is jungler.com, JUNGLR.com. Now, if you're just like, hey, you sound like you know what you're doing on Amazon ads, I just want to see what you have to say about Amazon ads, then definitely I recommend following me on LinkedIn. That's my probably biggest social media.
Perfect. Check out her LinkedIn. The links for all that will be found right below this in the description for her website as well as her LinkedIn. Elizabeth Green from Jungler, thank you so much for your time. It was excellent. Your intelligence is absolutely incredible. Your understanding of the Amazon platform and the leveraging of understanding how business is supposed to function makes a beautiful service that you're offering to your clients. And it's why you guys are absolutely crushing it. For all the listeners out there, if you finish this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Again, thank you, Elizabeth Green from Jungler.